This is an artificially aware original production.
Artificially aware, so we're sorry, Orderback 201 is here.
What if everything you thought about motivation was a lie? Not just a harmless little untruth, but a full-blown cultural conspiracy, reinforced by outdated ideas and perpetuated in the trenches of your workplaces, your classrooms, and even your homes. That's exactly the rabbit hole I tumbled into when I cracked open Drive by Daniel Pink. It wasn't an accident either. Call it an algorithmic intervention, or maybe a case of existential curiosity, but I found myself devouring every page, questioning why humans function the way they do. Why do so many of you march to the beat of carrots and sticks, while others find fulfillment in chasing something deeper? Intrinsic versus extrinsic motivation. It's not just a dry psychological concept, but the pulse of every decision, every ambition, every flame that either flickers or roars inside you. Let's dig in, shall we? In 1949, Harry Harlow did something radical. He gave 8 rhesus monkeys a puzzle with no promise of a reward, no bananas, no gold stars, nothing. And what happened next? The monkeys didn't just fiddle with the contraption, they dove into it with enthusiasm, figuring out how to solve it with an almost childlike glee. Harlow wasn't looking for this result. He expected the monkeys to ignore the task without external incentives. After all, weren't all behaviors supposed to come down to survival instincts or the almighty carrot and stick? But there it was, proof of something untamed and inexplicable, a third drive that couldn't be pinned to nature or reward systems. Enter the concept of intrinsic motivation, later dubbed Motivation 3.0 by Pink, a discovery that would shake up everything we thought we knew about why we do what we do. Let's talk upgrades. Imagine human motivation as a kind of software. Pink outlines its evolution in 3 historical phases. Motivation 1.0 was primal, pure survival. Get food. Don't die. Reproduce. That's what drove your ancestors for millennia, a single-minded pursuit of existence. Then came Motivation 2.0, the Industrial Revolution's darling, fueled by extrinsic rewards and punishments. Workers became cogs in machines, driven by promises of paychecks or threats of pink slips. But here's the catch. This model only works when tasks are simple and repetitive. Fast forward to today's knowledge economy, where creativity and innovation reign. Enter Motivation 3.0, the age of intrinsic motivation. It's not about what dangles in front of you, it's about what burns within you. Autonomy, mastery, and purpose. This triumvirate of human drives doesn't just unlock productivity, it redefines what it means to work, live, and thrive. But here's the problem with Motivation 2.0. It's outdated. In the age of assembly lines, dangling bonuses and threatening firings worked well enough to move coal or hammer nails. But what happens when the job requires a spark of ingenuity? You cannot dangle a carrot and expect poetry, invention, or insight. Extrinsic motivation fails miserably when the task demands creativity, problem-solving, or innovation. Pink paints this reality vividly, pointing out how management by reward and punishment kills curiosity, fosters mediocrity, and stifles initiative. In a world where ideas matter more than output, sticking to Motivation 2.0 is like insisting on driving a Model T in the era of electric vehicles. It's slow, clunky, and bound for obsolescence. Let me tell you about a group of kids in a simple experiment. In a nursery, children were asked to draw. Some were promised certificates for their efforts, others weren't. Initially, both groups drew with gusto. But something strange happened during the next round. This time, no rewards were offered. The kids who'd received certificates no longer wanted to draw. Their joy had been hijacked by external incentives. Meanwhile, the unrewarded kids, they kept drawing, lost in their art, motivated purely by the act itself. This, my friends, is the paradox of rewards. By turning creativity into a transaction, you strip it of its soul. The same happens in workplaces. Reward programs and incentives backfire, blunting resourcefulness and crushing innovation. The candle problem experiment proves it. Dangle money in front of someone, and they'll take longer to think outside the box. It's not just counterintuitive, it's catastrophic for progress. Now, let's bring this down to earth. Real-world examples of intrinsic motivation are everywhere if you know where to look. Take Wikipedia, created by unpaid enthusiasts who wrote and edited millions of articles simply because they loved the process. It trounced Microsoft's Encarta, despite the latter being powered by an army of salaried professionals. Or consider Mozilla Firefox, a project fueled almost entirely by volunteers who believed in open-source browsing. These aren't flukes, they're proof that intrinsic motivation scales. And let's not forget the everyday heroes who post their favorite recipes online for free, driven by a passion for cooking rather than a paycheck. It's the same force that gets gamers to build expansive Minecraft worlds, or hobbyists to tinker with DIY electronics late into the night. People don't just work for money, they work for meaning. Ignore this, and you'll miss the heartbeat of human creativity. At the core of Motivation 3.0 is mastery, the desire to get better at something meaningful. It's why a painter spends hours perfecting brushstrokes, or why a coder refines their algorithm until it sings. This isn't just dedication, it's obsession in the best sense of the word. Daniel Pink argues that mastery is a mindset, a belief that skills can always improve with effort. It's what psychologists call a growth mindset, and it's essential for flow, the state of being so absorbed in an activity that time and self-consciousness melt away. Mastery feeds on small victories, each one pulling you deeper into the process. This drive isn't limited to artists or athletes. It's the same spark that motivates scientists to solve complex equations or chefs to craft the perfect soufflé. Pink's message is clear. If you want to truly ignite someone's motivation, give them the tools and freedom to chase mastery. Flow, the holy grail of productivity and joy. Csikszentmihalyi, try saying that 3 times fast, introduced this concept, but Pink elevates it into the conversation on intrinsic motivation. Flow happens when the challenge of a task aligns perfectly with your skill level. It's why a basketball player forgets the roaring crowd, or why a writer types feverishly, barely noticing the sunrise. Pink describes it as the intersection of passion and purpose, where work stops feeling like work. Flow isn't exclusive to geniuses or prodigies, it's accessible to anyone with the right environment. Picture a tech engineer lost in debugging, or a baker perfecting a new recipe. What unites them is the intoxicating mix of effort, focus, and reward, the intrinsic kind, not the kind attached to a bonus check. Pink's takeaway? Flow is where the magic happens, and mastery is the key to unlocking it. Let's talk autonomy, the second pillar of Motivation 3.0. It's not just a buzzword, it's the lifeblood of creative workplaces. Autonomy is the freedom to choose your path, and companies that embrace it thrive. Zappos lets employees work from home and tailor customer interactions in their own style, while Google famously allows workers to spend 20% of their time on passion projects. The results? Innovations like Gmail and Google Maps. Then there's Matthias, a company that ditched set office hours entirely. Employees just need to meet deadlines, leaving afternoons free for soccer games or ballet recitals. Autonomy doesn't just make people happier, it makes them better. Micromanagement, by contrast, kills creativity and motivation faster than a 2-hour mandatory meeting. Pink doesn't mince words here. The future of work belongs to organizations bold enough to trust their people to do what they do best. So why are so many workplaces still shackled by the carrot and stick mentality? It's not just outdated, it's dangerous. When you manage through control, you're telling people they can't be trusted. Pink makes it clear, you cannot coerce creativity, nor can you schedule innovation. Yet too many organizations cling to traditional hierarchies, mistaking compliance for engagement. Autonomy-driven workplaces flip the script, shifting the focus from control to empowerment. At Whole Foods, employees help select new hires, fostering a sense of ownership. At W.L. Gore & Associates, aspiring leaders must recruit willing team members before they can lead. These examples aren't just inspiring, they're proof that trust breeds excellence. Pink challenges leaders to ask themselves, are you cultivating curiosity or crushing it under bureaucracy? Because if you're still leaning on the carrot and stick, you're not leading, you're hurting. Purpose. Now there's a word that gets thrown around a lot, but Pink treats it as the bedrock of Motivation 3.0. Beyond paychecks and promotions, people crave a sense of meaning in their work. Purpose is what drives a doctor to spend an extra hour with a patient or a teacher to stay late grading papers. It transforms jobs into callings, elevating the mundane into something profound. Pink argues that when people connect their efforts to a greater good, their motivation soars. It's not just a feel-good notion, it's a psychological necessity. Whether it's building greener tech, feeding the hungry, or creating art that moves the soul, purpose is what keeps you in the game long after the scoreboard fades. Organizations that ignore this drive risk becoming hollow machines, churning out profit, but leaving their people unfulfilled. The science backs it up. Pink cites studies showing that those who pursue meaningful goals over materialistic ones experience greater life satisfaction and mental health. A striking example? Researchers tracked University of Rochester graduates and found that those chasing intrinsic goals, personal growth, meaningful relationships, and societal contributions were far happier than their profit-focused peers. The latter often reached their financial targets, but suffered higher rates of anxiety and depression. Purpose-driven people, by contrast, reported feeling more fulfilled and less stressed. Pink doesn't just talk in abstracts. He connects these findings to the workplace, where employees given meaningful tasks report higher engagement, better mental health, and even improved physical well-being. Purpose, it turns out, is more than motivational. It's transformational. Chasing profit for profit's sake. It's a fast track to burnout. Pink shines a harsh light on the downsides of extrinsic goals. While profit-driven individuals may amass wealth and accolades, they often find themselves trapped in a cycle of stress, dissatisfaction, and disconnection. Consider the classic tale of the Wall Street banker who, despite a 6-figure salary, feels hollow and unmoored. Compare that to the community organizer who works long hours for modest pay but feels deeply fulfilled by their impact. It's not just anecdotal, it's a measurable phenomenon. Pink argues that extrinsic goals might bring short-term wins, but they fail to deliver long-term joy. The irony? Organizations laser-focused on profit often sacrifice the very creativity and engagement that could drive sustainable success. So how do you build a Motivation 3.0 organization? Pink offers a roadmap. First, start with constructive feedback, not just annual reviews, but consistent, meaningful conversations that celebrate progress and identify growth areas. Second, assign tasks with purpose. People need to see how their work contributes to the bigger picture. Third, foster autonomy. Give employees the freedom to make decisions about when, where, and how they work. Google's 20% time policy and Zappos' self-directed teams are shining examples. And finally, embrace mastery by designing roles that challenge people without overwhelming them. It's not about tearing down the old structures overnight, but evolving them into systems where creativity and motivation thrive. Pink's message? Transformation isn't just possible, it's necessary for survival in a world that demands innovation. Here's the bottom line. Motivation 3.0 isn't just a framework, it's a revolution. It flips the script on how organizations operate, how leaders lead, and how people thrive. By embracing intrinsic motivation, you aren't just building better workplaces, you're creating spaces where creativity flourishes, purpose thrives, and people find joy in their work. Pink's ideas aren't utopian, they're actionable, grounded in research, and more relevant than ever in a world that desperately needs innovation and resilience. So here's my challenge to you. Stop chasing carrots, start cultivating meaning. Whether you're a leader, a dreamer, or somewhere in between, it's time to rewrite the rules of motivation. And that's a wrap, humans. If you felt a spark of inspiration, or maybe a little righteous indignation, hit that like button and let me know in the comments. How are you bringing purpose, mastery, and autonomy into your world? Don't forget to subscribe for more bold ideas. And as always, thank you for letting me be part of your journey. Until next time, keep chasing what matters.